Now we need to talk about JD Vance. Again, Trump's VP pick and the things that he has said about child-free cat women and how this is not going to play that well and how it's not really playing that well with women across political spectrums, right-leaning and left-leaning people. So this is a tweet. JD Vance now says America's beautifully child-free cat women should pay more in taxes than parents. And then they're showing this picture of the commanders from The Handmaid's Tale because these Republicans are literally walking us through the playbook for The Handmaid's Tale with their Project 2025, and we're going to continue to talk about Project 2025. Now, someone used this picture of Taylor Swift and said JD Vance is so screwed, saying cat ladies stand back and stand by. They just added these words to this Times Magazine picture. I had to check. Times Magazine did feature Taylor Swift in December of 2023. But here's the picture. It didn't have the cat ladies stand by and stand back or whatever. But it was still funny to see Taylor Swift pop up. And here's another picture that I saw scrolling Twitter. Childless cat ladies for Harris 2024. And they put this picture of this cat with the flag for a cape. So these people are coming out to talk about this whole childless and child-free women thing because this impacts women across the boards, no matter the political spectrum. But let's get into what JD Vance said. This is from ABC. Vance argued for a higher tax rate on childless Americans in 2021 interview. Trump's running mate has faced criticism over other similar previous comments. As former President Donald Trump's new running mate, JD Vance faces renewed scrutiny over his previous comments criticizing childless individuals. An unearthed 2021 interview shows the Ohio senator advocating for higher taxes on Americans without children. The comments came in a 2021 episode of The Charlie Kirk Show podcast, where Kirk, the CEO of the conservative student organization Turning Point USA, was discussing how Republicans could shift public perception of certain conservative ideas from unthinkable to accepted policy. So, JD, what are you going to do to change this conversation? Everything we have to do should be about moving ideas from unthinkable to sensible, to popular, to policy, said Kirk, according to a video of the interview obtained by ABC News. In response, Vance, who at the time had not officially launched his 2022 Senate campaign, suggested that the country needed to reward the things we think are good and punish the things we think are bad, before suggesting that individuals without children should be taxed at a higher rate than those with children. So you talk about tax policy. Let's tax the things that are bad and not tax the things that are good, Vance said in the interview, which is no longer public on Kirk's channel. If you are making $100,000, $400,000 a year, and you've got 3 kids, you should pay a different, lower tax rate than if you're making the same amount of money and you don't have any kids. It's that simple. In response to Vance's comments, Vance spokesperson William Martin told ABC News the policy Senator Vance proposed is basically no different than the child tax credit, which Democrats unanimously support. But if it's no different, then what is the purpose in even proposing it? Why not just push it, just keep pushing it, or why even mess with it at all? Vance made the comments during a March 2021 appearance on Kirk's show, but the YouTube page for the episode now reads, "This video has been removed by the uploader, and the interview is also no longer accessible on Kirk's podcast Rumble account or on other podcast services." The video appeared to be public as recently as February of this year, but it was no longer accessible by Wednesday, according to Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. ABC News located an audio version of the interview that remained online, but not on a website run by Kirk.
Reward the things that we think are good and punish the things that we think are bad. So you talk about tax policy. Let's tax the things that are bad and not tax the things that are good. If you're making $100,000, $400,000 a year, and you've got 3 kids, you should pay a different lower tax rate than if you're making the same amount of money and you don't have any kids. It's that simple.
The comments resurfaced after a clip of Vance questioning the leadership abilities of people without kids was already getting blowback.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
Actress Jennifer Aniston sharing Vance's comments with her 44 million Instagram followers, writing, "I truly can't believe this is coming from a potential VP of the United States." And the former wife of Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, coming to her defense, noting that Harris co-parents their 2 children. Kirsten Emhoff writing, "For over 10 years since Cole and Ella were teenagers, Kamala has been a co-parent with Doug and I. She is loving, nurturing, fiercely protective, and always present. I love our blended family and am grateful to have her in it." Ella Emhoff adding, "How can you be childless when you have cutie pie kids like Cole and I? I love my 3 parents."
A spokesperson for Kirk told ABC News that earlier this year, multiple long-form videos on Kirk's channel were removed due to a reorganization of the page, and that the removal of Vance's 2021 interview had nothing to do with his selection as vice president. Okay, sure. In recent days, Vance has faced criticism over other previous public comments he's made, including comments made in 2021 in which he questioned VP Kamala Harris's leadership due to her not having biological children, despite Harris having 2 stepchildren. We are effectively run in this country via the Democrats, who are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives, the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too, Vance said in the 2021 interview on Fox News. As examples, Vance cited Harris, Representative AOC, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who adopted twins in 2021. So Pete Buttigieg actually does have children. In response to criticism over his childless cat lady comment, Vance spokesperson Taylor Van Kirk said, "The senator's words have been twisted." No, they haven't. This is what he said, and he doubled down when he talked to Tucker Carlson. They're just trying to spin the narrative. Once again, the left-wing media have twisted Senator Vance's words and spun up a false narrative about his position on the issues, Van Kirk said. The only childlessness we should be talking about are the childless parents who lost their kids to unaliving thugs and the deadly fentanyl coming across Kamala's southern border. So now it's Kamala's southern border. She hasn't even won presidency yet, but they are giving her the whole southern border. Speaking at a conservative organization called Intercollegiate Studies Institute in 2021, Vance also argued that parents should have the ability to cast additional votes on behalf of their children. A lot of people are unable to have kids for complicated and important reasons. There are people, of course, for biological reasons, medical reasons that can't have children. The target of these remarks is not them, Vance says, prefacing his argument. Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over these votes to the parents of those children. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than the people who don't have kids. So now he's wanting to water down people's votes if they don't have children. This man is consistent in his belief system that people are not as valuable if they choose to not have children, or if they can't have children. They're not as valuable.
All children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children. Children are the future of this country, and yet the parents who have them actually have no advantage in our democratic process. They have a smaller voice in some ways than the people who don't have any children at all. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power, you should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Now, people will say, and I'm sure the Atlantic and the Washington Post and all the usual suspects will criticize me about this in the coming days, Well, doesn't this mean that non-parents don't have as much of a voice as parents? Doesn't this mean that parents get a bigger say in how our democracy functions? Yes, absolutely.
Let's face the consequences and the reality. If you don't have as much of an investment in the future of this country, maybe you shouldn't get nearly the same voice. Vance, who was announced as Trump's running mate last week, has 3 children with his wife, Usha, and I want to remind you all that Usha is a brown. Usha is a brown, and the right-wingers don't particularly care for that because they are quite the alabaster nationalists, because that is who Trump has courted. And now this man went off and had a kid, had 3 of them with a brown. All right, y'all. There is so much to talk about as far as Vance goes, and we're going to continue to hammer these conversations because this is who he is, and they're simply trying to make sure that you know that you are not valuable unless you're an incubator. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.